Ninjago is one of LEGO's biggest original IPs, there is no two ways about it. The show and the merchandise, everything surrounding it makes LEGO a lot of money, and one of the biggest reasons for that is the TV show, which is fantastic. I love Ninjago as a whole, but why is it that with how big the show has gotten and with how popular the show has gotten, its streaming has never been worse? When you take a step back and you look at the situation as a whole, you realise that this show is actually really difficult to watch. Maybe easier in some countries over others, but speaking as someone who lives within the UK, it's honestly never been more difficult to actually just simply watch through Ninjago. It is actually a nightmare to do so, and I want to explain how that is the case today. Because I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of sick of it. I hate the loopholes I have to jump through just to simply watch through all of Ninjago. It is genuinely frustrating, and maybe this can bring some more attention to it, even though it will probably go nowhere. So sit back, relax, and watch me lose my mind a bit, as we talk about why it is an absolute nightmare. So there are two reasons why there is an absolute streaming problem when it does come to Ninjago. We are talking about modern day new releases and also just past seasons that we've already had. There is literally no season that is safe from this streaming nightmare. So let's talk about the new content that we do get. LEGO has two main releases of Ninjago seasons per year. This has been the case for a very long time, apart from a few years where there were exceptions. The thing is that they have been fairly solid on what they're trying to release per year, but the thing is that they're never able to accomplish it properly. The main license holder when it comes to Ninjago as of Dragon's Rising is Netflix. Netflix have quite literally had their logo within the opening credits of Ninjago, because they are one of the main benefactors when it does come to this show. And in some countries, they are pretty good and on top of new releases, but in other countries like the UK, it has been absolute torture. Like I said, I'm only covering the UK when it does come to this video because I don't watch Ninjago internationally. I'm not in multiple countries at once trying to watch these seasons. So anyways, Netflix, like I said, are the main license holders of Dragon's Rising. And when it comes to the release date, for example Season 4 Part 1, you may be expecting it to be on Netflix on release day. And like I said, in some countries that is the case, mainly America. But the thing is that when it comes to the UK, that is absolutely not the case for us. Season 4 Part 1, as of the day I'm filming this, which is late May, is nowhere to be seen when it does come to Netflix. They have had no inclination on actually releasing the season, but the thing is that they have done this with basically all of Dragon's Rising. They release the newest installment basically just before the next installment is actually coming out. For example, Season 3 Part 2, it only released onto streaming services in 2026 on UK Netflix. It released nearly a year ago because of leaks. But you may be thinking to yourself that this is probably down to something along the lines of UK streaming law or licensing agreements, who truly knows? Well, no, that's not the case whatsoever, because on every single release date of Dragon's Rising, you can always check it out on ITVX. They, for some reason, have the season on release day, but Netflix don't? What's going on here? So you're just left in this situation where you have to go to another streaming service, and if you don't want a few minutes of ads multiple times an episode, pay for that service just to be able to watch the newest season of Ninjago. It is extremely annoying, and there's basically no way around it unless you're willing to sail the 7 seas. So what's the solution to this? Netflix, unify your country release dates. I don't know why the UK takes so much longer. I don't know if there are any other countries that have this to be the case, but like I said, as far as I'm aware, we're one of the few that do, because America gets a release day, I know Australia also does, I believe New Zealand does as well, so it's just really the UK by the sounds of it. There is no rhyme or reason for this, and it's actually just frustrating. But that's not even the worst one in my opinion. Because this brings us to the second type of streaming nightmare when it does come to Ninjago. Like I said, new seasons are one thing, and there is an obvious solution, like I said, but it just is annoying by going to another streaming service. But now you have the case of trying to go back and watch old seasons, or say if you're a new Ninjago fan, or you're a Ninjago fan and you're trying to show someone new the show. The thing is that there are so many older seasons that you just quite simply cannot get your hands on, again, for no apparent reason. To once again use Netflix as the main example, because that's one of the main places people consume Ninjago, you have a case of the original era of the show actually missing certain seasons on UK Netflix. If you go onto there as of the time of making this video, you cannot see the pilot episodes and you cannot see the entirety of the Oni trilogy. You can still consume season 1 through 7, but there is just nothing else. Of course, there is an obvious reason why this is the case, and I'll get into in a minute, but the thing is that there is no official reason or explanation from Netflix as to why certain seasons are still around and why others aren't. There are also 11-minute eras examples of these. If you again go on to UK Netflix, you cannot watch anything beyond Master of the Mountain. Seabound, The Island, and Crystallize are all completely missing from UK Netflix, again with no indication of them actually returning. It is just beyond frustrating. There is no way around this, apart from one thing in particular, which is again going to ITVX and basically paying for that subscription to not get ads, and then being able to watch a handful of those seasons. You can watch the Oni trilogy on there, the pilots, you can also watch Seabound and The Island on there, and the first half of Crystallized. And well, this is the only way I can transition it into the worst parts of it, and the reason why I wanted to make this video. And that is the case of trying to watch Ninjago Crystallized Part 2 when it does come to your Ninjago watch through. As of, again, the time of watching this video, there is quite literally no streaming platform that exists within the UK that actually has Part 2 of Crystallized. Netflix, ITVX, YouTube, anything of the like that you can think of, it quite literally does not exist. There is no legal way of being able to watch Part 2 of Crystallized within the UK. How is that even possible? How is it that we have a situation where an entirety of the show and a fairly important season in terms of the Ninjago timeline is just quite simply missing? Why is it that we cannot watch these episodes by no legal means necessary? Again, you could always sail the 7 seas like you're a part of Soto's crew, but the thing is that you just shouldn't do that. There is no reason to support piracy because you're directly going against the pockets of the people who make the show. If you like Ninjago, you should support it properly. But the thing is that what option do you have if they're not giving you one? I would gladly pay for Crystallize if it meant I actually had a legal way of obtaining the season. But again, they just simply don't choose to. At least, again, there's just this annoying workaround for most of the seasons. You can go to ITVX and watch these seasons and actually watch through Ninjago. But if there are episodes that are just feasibly not obtainable, what do LEGO expect you to do? It's not like there's any physical releases anymore either. If Ninjago had a full box set, all of the seasons in Blu-ray formats, I would buy that in a moment's notice. But again, they are just simply not going to do that because why not? I don't know. But the thing is that they're not giving us an option when it comes to this solution. But this brings us to what I said a few minutes ago. What is the actual reason this is the case? Why aren't they on Netflix or any other platform? Well, that's just simply down to licensing. That is down to deals and agreements and buying out the rights between respective platforms and LEGO themselves. Netflix just quite simply haven't paid for the rights for these seasons. They're clearly paying for some, but just not others. And that is just honestly kind of more frustrating than ever. It's not like LEGO are restricting people from buying these licenses, because this is LEGO we're talking about. They will always take more money when they can. But the thing is that it just seems to be that these companies are not willing to buy these licenses anymore. And honestly, that is just frustrating. So with that, what is the solution? What should these companies do moving forward? Well, I can tell you what they should do. Buy the licenses! But hey, maybe they won't. Who knows what they will actually do? Maybe they will just keep these incomplete sets of Ninjago on there for eternity, and it might just get worse as time goes by. Or maybe they'll actually think about what they're doing, because as far as I can be aware, this is the only show that has this issue. I don't know why this is the case, I don't know how this is the case, but this simply is the case. So I wanted to get this little rant out, because I hope this brings some sort of awareness. Maybe we can actually start a conversation as to the streaming when it does come to Ninjago. Maybe we can actually get LEGO's attention on this, or maybe some of these streaming companies. Who knows? We are the community at the end of the day. We are the community and the fans of the show, and we do have a say in these matters. We can actually have an opinion, because ultimately, we're the people who make them their money. So, I don't know. I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention, because I want to know what you guys think. So hey, what's the streaming situation like in your country? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you have ready access to all the seasons of Ninjago? I would honestly like to know, because if there are other countries that are in much of a terrible position as the UK is, I would actually like this to be aware. Because honestly, I just want to know if the UK is just going on the short end of the stick, because it really does feel like it at the minute. And of course, as someone who does love Ninjago, I would love to be able to watch these seasons, but at the end of the day, I just simply can't, because there are just too many things to consider when it does come to rewatching them. But that is why I wanted to bring up to you guys. So hey, thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, even though it's a bit of a rant. But if you did enjoy, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you can always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of you, your support means the absolute world to me, and I cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. And sorry for the rant. Okay, bye!